passing, but he took time to say that. But I think that principle of uncluttering your mind, I think the reason sometimes we don't have the energy and the creativity is, it's cluttered with this.
For decades, Joel Osteen stood as the smiling face of American faith, preaching hope, abundance, and the power of positive thinking. Millions tuned in weekly to hear his message of your best life now. His words inspired many, yet beneath the polished sermons and perfect smile lay storms that threatened to undo everything he built. From humble beginnings in Houston to leading the largest church in America, Joel's story is one of ambition, belief, and controversy. As critics question his message and finances, his once shining empire faces cracks of doubt. Behind the applause, Joel's world stands at a crossroads. A family built on faith and fire. Joel Osteen was born on March 5, 1963, into a family where faith wasn't just spoken, it was lived. His father, John Osteen, had left the traditional Baptist church to create Lakewood Church, a place for healing and miracles. His mother, Dodie, stood as a pillar of unwavering faith, surviving terminal cancer through prayer. Watching his parents turn pain into purpose shaped Joel's entire worldview. Their home was a blend of hardship and hope, where faith was the answer to every fear. Even when his sister Lisa was born with disabilities, the family leaned deeper into faith healing. From those early days, Joel absorbed a message that would later define his own ministry: believe, and you will overcome. From behind the camera to the pulpit. Joel's path to the pulpit wasn't planned. After graduating high school, he attended Oral Roberts University, but dropped out to focus on television production. He wasn't drawn to preaching, but to broadcasting. In 1982, he founded Lakewood's television ministry, filming his father's sermons and refining the message for a modern audience. Joel made Lakewood's image sharp, clean, and ready for the spotlight. For 17 years, he worked quietly behind the scenes, never once preaching. His gift was storytelling through a lens. He turned Lakewood from a small Texas church into a national name. When he finally stood before the congregation in 1999 to deliver his first sermon, he had no idea it would change his life forever. A tragic beginning to a new era. Just 6 days after Joel's first sermon, tragedy struck. His father, John Osteen, passed away from a sudden heart attack. The loss left Lakewood without its shepherd, and Joel without his mentor. Despite his inexperience, the congregation looked to him for guidance. Though he had no seminary degree and little training, Joel stepped forward, propelled by faith and instinct. In June 1999, he officially became senior pastor. What began as a moment of grief evolved into explosive growth. Under Joel's leadership, Lakewood's weekly attendance surged from 6,000 to 30,000 within 5 years. His sermons, simple, uplifting, and full of hope, reached people who had long abandoned traditional religion, turning faith into a global brand. Joel Osteen didn't just preach, he transformed faith into an experience. In 2003, Lakewood Church leased Houston's former NBA arena, the Compaq Center, for $12 million, later investing nearly $100 million in renovations. By 2005, 16,000 seats filled with worshipers every week, and millions more watched worldwide. Joel's sermons became televised events, his books bestsellers, and his name a global brand. His debut book, Your Best Life Now, sold over 4 million copies and stayed on the New York Times bestseller list for 200 weeks. His net worth soared past $50 million, largely from book royalties and paid speaking tours. Joel became a crossover figure, appearing on Oprah, Good Morning America, and Larry King Live. His message of positivity resonated far beyond church walls, but it also sparked questions about what gospel he was truly preaching. The prosperity gospel debate. Joel's message centered on abundance, financial, emotional, and spiritual. He often said, "God wants you to live in victory." To millions, it was empowering. To others, it was dangerous. Critics labeled it the prosperity gospel, a teaching that suggests faith can guarantee wealth and success. Theologians accuse Joel of preaching Christianity without a cross, a feel-good faith that ignores sin, sacrifice, and suffering. They argued that it reduced God to a life coach and turned faith into a self-help plan. Joel defended his approach, saying he wanted to lift people up, not weigh them down with guilt. Still, the debate grew louder. Was Joel spreading hope or selling comfort, money, power, and the mega church machine? As Lakewood's influence expanded, so did scrutiny over its finances. With a $90 million annual budget, the church spent heavily on media and events, but gave relatively little to charity, just over 1%. Reports showed $31 million went to weekly services and another $25 million to television broadcasts. Critics said Lakewood looked more like a corporation than a church. In 2020, when the church accepted a $4.4 million federal COVID loan, backlash erupted. Many questioned why a megachurch with vast wealth needed taxpayer aid. Though Lakewood later repaid the money, public trust took a hit. The numbers told one story, but the perception told another. Faith had become business. The personal side of the pastor. Behind Joel's trademark smile stands a devoted family. He met his wife, Victoria, in 1985 at a jewelry store. 2 years later, they married and became partners in both life and ministry. Victoria evolved from store clerk to co-pastor, leading women's ministries and writing best-selling books of her own. Their marriage has weathered decades of fame and criticism, grounded in shared belief and resilience. Their children, Jonathan and Alexandra, grew up on stage, both following in their parents' footsteps as worship leaders and speakers. Though the Osteen family lives in a $16 million mansion, Joel insists that his wealth reflects blessings, not greed. Yet the contrast between their lavish lifestyle and their humble message remains hard for many to reconcile. The cracks beneath the surface. In time, controversies began to shadow the Osteen legacy. A 2011 lawsuit accused Lakewood Church of using copyrighted music without permission. Critics pounced, calling it another sign of carelessness in an empire built on image. Others questioned Lakewood's commitment to traditional practices like communion and baptism, which some felt had been sidelined for stage lights and camera angles. Even after Joel held mass baptisms in 2025, many remained skeptical. The question lingered: had the church traded spiritual depth for spectacle? For a man who built his ministry on the idea that faith conquers all, these moments felt like warnings that even empires built on hope can crumble under their own weight. Hurricane Harvey and the public backlash. The turning point came in 2017 when Hurricane Harvey devastated Houston. As thousands sought shelter, Lakewood Church initially kept its doors closed. Photos of the massive arena locked tight flooded social media. Critics accused Joel of turning away the suffering. Though he later opened the church and denied the accusations, the damage was done. For many, that moment defined him more than any sermon ever could. The man who preached generosity was now seen as distant and unfeeling. Joel defended his actions, citing safety and logistics, but public trust had cracked. The incident became a metaphor for his ministry, grand on the outside, questioned within. Legacy, reflection, and the weight of faith. Today, Joel Osteen stands at a crossroads. His church still draws tens of thousands, his books still sell, and his smile still fills screens. Yet, the man who once seemed untouchable now faces growing skepticism. Critics say his message oversimplifies faith. Supporters call it modern-day inspiration. For Joel, the truth lies somewhere in between. He remains the preacher of hope, the pastor of positivity. Yet beneath the optimism is a man who has endured loss, criticism, and doubt. His story isn't one of downfall, but of reflection. A reminder that faith, fame, and fortune rarely walk together in peace. And perhaps, as the applause fades, Joel Osteen is learning that even the brightest light must face its own